What's going on, guys? It's the Bearded One back with another beer review. Today we're doing an oldie but a goodie, Sweetwater 420. I believe Sweetwater is out of Atlanta, Georgia. It even says. Where was I at in Atlanta, Georgia? I was at the SEC championship game back when Alabama played Missouri for the second time. For you Alabama fans watching, Blake Sims was our quarterback. So it was that year when we got beat by Ohio State in the playoff game that I was at. I think it was the final game in the Georgia Dome. Georgia Tech took over the Georgia Dome. I think that's their new stadium, but it was the final game. The SEC was using it. But anyways, I bring that up to say I believe I came out of the stadium and Sweetwater's brewery, or maybe their production facility, was right there. And Sweetwater's pretty big. This might not be an accurate analogy, but what Samuel Adams is to Massachusetts, what New Belgium is to Colorado, what Sierra Nevada is to California, Sweetwater is to Georgia. So for those of you that aren't in the Southeast, that's kind of the size of Sweetwater. They're pretty big. I don't know how big, so again, maybe that wasn't an accurate analogy, but I feel like the Southeast is still not as cultured, and our culture isn't as mature as, say Oregon or Michigan or Wisconsin or California. So, Sweetwater's are representative, I guess, of our beer culture. I've got a buddy, shout out to Juice or Justin Turner, however he's going to choose to go as. He swears that I've had 420 before. I don't think I've ever had 420 before, but I've been drinking beer for 10, maybe 11 years now. And when you've been drinking beer that long, everything tends to run together. So we'll see. It'll be a new experience for me anyways. At least feel like one. This beer was brewed on it was at least packaged on September 17th. So it's kind of getting there, for a hop forward beer. It's about ready to be drank. Pretty volatile beer. Gave it a pretty aggressive pour there at the end. Now, the 420 is supposed to be an extra pale ale. Now, I find that choice of words to be pretty interesting, because what makes it an extra pale ale versus an India pale ale? I don't know, and I don't think we're going to find out tonight. But anyways, you see decent head retention. It has dissipated somewhat fast if you just consider how much head was in the beer just a few seconds ago. And it's got a dishwash detergent type consistency. I bet it leaves legs. These more soapy looking heads leave leg. Yeah, there's too much beer for me to show you the legs, but it's definitely pale. I just did Florida Cracker from Cigar City Brewing, and it's kind of got that same consistency. It's got that same color. It looks a little more orange, apple juicy on the camera, but I can promise you, it's definitely more. It's a tinge deeper than that Florida Cracker was. It's definitely a golden color. It's definitely It's definitely hazy, cloudy. I think it has sediment. I think it has sediment floating around in it. Yeah, it's definitely got sediment floating around. It's just very fine dust-like particulate matter floating around. It's got carbonation going on, but doesn't look overly active. Bubbles are really small in this beer. Yeah, hops are starting to fade. I don't know for, let's see, September, October, November. Yeah, about 4 months almost to the day. I don't know if that's pretty old. But yeah, I can smell the hops. They're pretty faded, I think. For an extra pale ale, I'm gonna say this beer is kind of getting on up there in age. I think I read online that they used Centennial and Cascade, so 2 C hops, but they also, even though I'm suspecting that the hops are fading, they do use 4 or 5 type of Munich malts. I think they use Munich. I know they use Munich wheat and a midnight wheat, and then there's a second one. It might have been Crystal 60 or Crystal 20. I can't remember. Yeah, I get that bread, and then I get like a fading. I get like a fading, earthy, hoppy, citrusy thing going on. No, maybe I'm expecting an IPA. Because this is an extra pale ale, it's not as pungent, so that could also be a thing. I think I've got this hyped up to be an IPA when it's actually an EPA, an extra pale ale, whatever that means. I've never heard of an extra pale ale before. It's definitely more on the grassy side. The hops, the Cascade, the Centennial. I get like the bitterness on the front of the tongue with like the piney, grassy stuff. I don't think there's any citrus. It would be like a real tart, lemony citrus, I think. Ah, see, there's legs. I told you there'd be legs on this beer, judging by that head. Yeah, I'm getting more of like a pine resin. It's very resiny to me, anyways. It just tastes really grassy. I don't get a lot of the citrus. Just like a tinge of lemon in there. I don't get a lot of malt. It's not a malty beer. It's an extra pale ale. So the malt's going to be back there. I think I get it when I'm trying to pay attention to it. When I'm trying to think about it, I think I get the malt. But it's kind of in the middle towards the back of the palate. And then there's the final hot bitterness as I swallow. I think I need to give this beer a second chance, a fair shake. I feel like an extra pale ale that's 4 months old. might be unfair to review it, but I'm gonna give it a rating anyways. I'm gonna give it a 3.75 out of 5. I do like the flavor profile, but I would like to revisit this beer and see if it can impress me at a fresher date. I can't believe I'm saying this in 2019, but I've been forcing myself to drink IPAs this year. I've really tried to make this the year of IPAs for me, so I can really develop an appreciation for hops and how important they are to beer. And I just can't tell if it is an extra pale ale, and maybe that's what everything is, the issues I'm having, or if it's the age. But yeah, it's pretty it's just pretty standard to me. It's a B+ beer. I don't think it's even an A- by any means. I like the flavor enough to give it a B+. I just feel like it's not pungent enough. I think they should come out with like this same exact recipe, but make it an IPA, or maybe even a double IPA. And I think it would be pretty good with the hop heads. I recommend this to the intermediate beer drinker crowd out there. I think 420 would be perfect for you guys out there. Like me, maybe you're trying to develop an appreciation for hops. You're trying to discover what hops can do for you in beer. I think something like Sweetwater 420 is the perfect beer for you. Something like this, or a Samuel Adams 76, or even a Sierra Nevada unfiltered pills that I reviewed a couple months ago. I think these type of beers are in your range if you're trying to take that next step into something a little more bitter. You've made it past your Kolsch's and your Lambics and your wet beers and things of that nature, and you've tried the ales, and now you're trying to take that next step up into the pale ale category. I think if you're trying to get into the pale ale category with bitterness, you could almost, in my opinion, you could almost skip just pale ale and go right into something like 420. If you're an IPA guy, you really like your hops, you're someone that likes to live on the edge and fry his or her palate, I think Sweetwater is not going to impress you at all. I think it's going to be a pretty standard beer that it tastes like a beer for the masses. And that's okay, though. That is okay. We need those mass-produced beers to spread the message of brewing and good beer. So yeah, Sweetwater 420 Extra Pale Ale, 3.75 out of 5. Until next time, guys, cheers.